Jadon Sancho, the GMU negotiator and a strong Parisian, €60 million raised in a bomb to replace Kylian Mbappe in the Prince's Park will be detonated. People may see this as a gamble full of risks for PSG, when Sancho's real level is still a difficult math to understand. However, Nasser El-Khelaifi and his colleagues have the basis to put their trust in Jadon Sancho. He may not be good in Manchester United, but in Dortmund or Champions League, he is the real select. PSG realized this and they want to invest more money for Sancho to play another silver. But is Sancho really more suitable for PSG than Mu? The most important thing is whether the red jersey is acceptable for the people or not. Because their new president is still famous and meticulous, he will not sell stars for money. Not to mention Sancho and TENH, which is said to have a connection. Speaking of the news that has been spreading about this mysterious number, the Sports Zone has recently spread the news that PSG has approached Sancho for a while and is ready to spend €60 million to bring him back to the Parc des Princes in August. The source even pointed out that the British star has agreed to personal terms with the owner of the Côte d'Azur Park and is ready to play in Lyon in the next season. Song Sports Zone also noted that this match will not be a goal for the French rich. They will compete with Mu to reach some of the best prices. Manchester United only hopes to sell this boot with the highest price. But they are in a bad position because Sancho is having a bad time playing in the red. Ten Hag is said to have a grudge against Sancho. We all know that once a relationship is broken, it can be completely broken at any time. Sancho is not the only PSG's player on the table. Louis-Eric Kay is also considered as a player who has no connection with the players from Suzingo. In his plan, besides Sancho, there is still a player who is running, Desi, from Rennes, and especially the Euro 2024 champion, Nico Williams, who is currently in the Athletic Zimbabwean team. Not to mention, even though he has been playing for a long time, he has a great time in Dortmund. When he was loaned to Dortmund, his professional values were still doubted by the French footballers. Only when they can't really compete with opponents in the D side or Williams team, the name Sancho was introduced. Sancho came to PSG to replace Kylian Mbappe. Yes, this is clearly a very loud rumor that will be spread all over the newspapers. If the money that MOU bought up to €85 million really goes to France, but remember that football is not just a story on a piece of paper, it is also a fact, it is also a possibility. No one dares to say that after half a successful season at Dortmund, the 2000 player will find himself in that club. Let's talk about the first scenario. PSG bought Sancho. Surely the British football world will have a great opening with the star Jean-Yves, who has spent up to €70 million to bring home the French football team. Sancho doesn't have to worry too much when he comes to France about the amount of money. Here, the money is simple, just numbers with the same amount of oil and gas. They are ready to pay Jorginho Sancho a high salary of 1.5 times, even more, if he really has enough talent, to cover the gap that Mbappe left. Remember that although we say that Sancho and Ten Hag have made a cold, but the good life of the 2000 World Cup players, Ten Hag has no right to intervene. Since the Ineos company of Sergei Bratislav took over the operation at Oxford, they have always been close to the effectiveness of their individual work. The coach Erik ten Hag himself can only be held accountable for a high evaluation by the top officials of the organization. Therefore, the Mu officials will evaluate the performance of Sancho during the tournament in the US tournament. They need to determine the usefulness of this player before making a decision. In case of Sancho disappointing, he will be immediately put on the table. At that time, the amount of 60 million will be added and the right wing of PSG will be added to the name of Sancho. In the French football environment, the intensity and pressure will be much less than when Sancho played at Milan, especially in a team with a lot of attention like Manchester United. At Paris Saint-Germain, he will really be able to play the ball in the most comfortable way. Just like what he did at Dortmund last season. Sancho is really good when his feet don't have to put on the pressure. PSG will bring Sancho more than an expected salary. In the Parc des Princes, at least envies will be able to play at Champions League. The French League is a mix of the top-level tournaments between PSG and European players. Unlike the Reds, PSG has never been undefeated in this tournament but is always considered a candidate for the Olympics. And they have also had a deep career in this tournament, instead of just wandering around in the top 8 like Mu a few years ago. In addition, it is true that the English language is not as fluent as the French league. But in terms of expertise, the French football scene is also developing and has made great progress in the past. They are fully capable of providing Sancho with a match that will help him to play his best. This is a sign that Sancho will not be missing here. At least, he is a national champion. PSG is always a dominant player. As for the English player, he also has the values that PSG needs in him. First, it is the distance that Mount left. Luis Enrique could have turned to the two-star team to maximize what Sancho had. If he really played like he did in Dortmund, it was enough for TSI to be confident in his position for at least 2 to 3 more years. Not to mention, the 2000 SINEL team also had a lot of experience playing in the most prestigious European tournament. He even became the main reason for Dortmund to go to the final of last year's final. Mount, although good, but did not show his fate. And bring Sancho back. Who knows, it is a French team that will change fate. In the case of Sancho and Pierre-Gilles not coming together, whatever you say, MOU and I still have a chance for each other. At least now, the players of TNH and the English player have been solved before. Especially in the new owner's era, MOU always prioritizes the outcome, not the support of any wingers in the changing room. Not to mention, until now, MOU still hasn't found a really good name to put him on the right wing. Putting Alexandro Garnacho on the left wing and putting Rashford on the opposite wing is a temporary solution. However, the €85 million price that this football team has given up is to plan for Sancho a main goal. They don't want him to shine here in the third season of TNH. Looking at how Mew faced Arsenal in the last match, we can see the problem right away. When Prasmo Højlund's shot was injured, Mew's attack was immediately dependent on Rashford's left wing. In the Amat Diallo area, a 22-year-old player can only make Arsenal's defense face difficulties in the early stage. The more he comes behind, the more he showed that he wasn't a unique player. Antony's skill was more and more outstanding when he didn't play as expected in the last season. Sancho was the main player in a few games. Who knows how to create pressure to help Antony regain his momentum. €60 million is not a small number, and if PSG is rich, then the other side of Mew is also not short of money. In the upcoming summer playoffs, Jadon Sancho has the ability to convince Erik ten Hag and the new owner of the team. MOU will not be easy. On the other hand, Sancho's visit to France is not a disadvantage for him. Because here he can play Champions League, have more chances to improve, and of course, spend money. In general, whether to go or stay, Sancho is the most profitable. The important thing is to stay on the top of the two teams after the summer playoffs are about to end.